Good afternoon. I'm your host, Don Burgess, and this is Burnews News and Views. And today we are here with OBA Senator Ben Smith, who is the candidate for Constituency 8 to replace Cole Simons. Welcome, Mr. Smith.
Thank you, Don, and good afternoon to you.
Yes. Now, you're running to replace Cole in that seat. What do you think he has meant to the OBA and in particular to Constituency 8?
Well, anytime you can have somebody that has represented constituency for the amount of time that Cole Simons was able to represent that constituency, you know that he has done well for his constituents. But for the OBA specifically, and for me personally, Cole took the reins of the party when we had many issues that we had to deal with, and he was a steady hand. Always somebody that was willing to give his time and to give guidance to anybody that reached out to him looking for guidance on how to deal with politics, but not just politics, just in life. Cole Simons has been an amazing representative, and he'll be missed. But, you know, after that long period of time being involved with politics, I think it's a deserved retirement.
Now, you've been a politician for a long time. What do you believe your strengths are?
So it's interesting because when I first started in 2017, you know, I was brand new to politics. I hadn't really thought about getting involved with politics. But over the 6-year period, I've learned a lot, understand kind of the nuances of being in politics. What I think is important is that I've spent the time listening, listening to constituents, listening to what is happening in the House, and paying attention to some of the changes that have happened in our country. And what I'm willing to do now is to take that information that I've learned, work with not only the government, but also the OBA members and the community in order for us to get to a better place. I think that the skill set that I've gained from being a coach for the last 25 years has given me the ability to work with people, to be able to see the strengths of other people and be able to use those strengths in order to help an overall team. Over the last 3 years specifically, we spent quite a bit of time building a new team for the One Bermuda Alliance. I'm really excited about that opportunity, what we've done, which was to look to try to be as diverse as possible, bringing in people from different backgrounds, bringing in people from different races, different ages, men, women, making sure that what we're doing is getting a real cross section of the community, because I think it's going to be important for all of Bermuda to get together in order for us to move in a direction that will be better. And we've built a team that looks like Bermuda.
Right. Now, one of the things you mentioned is your coaching, and you're very passionate about sports. From a national level, how would you like to see government do to help athletes and organizations more?
So it's an interesting thing. I will tell you that that was probably the biggest reason that I got involved with politics, because being someone who was involved from the coaching side, but also from the administration side, traveling to represent Bermuda in different jurisdictions, dealing with their athletes from the grassroots level to the elite level, I know for sure that even though Bermuda has punched well above its weight in multiple disciplines, we can do better. And what I have felt is that there has never been a real focus on improving the overall kind of participation in sport and what sport can actually do. Sport as a vehicle that will allow us to nurture our young people, teach them discipline, focus, goal setting, which are all things that will make us have a much better community down the road. We see all of the negative things that happen in our island, and I believe that if we spent more time, focus, and some extra financing on sports, we can turn some of that tide by showing young people the path.
Right. You also mentioned in your previous speaking in this interview about issues affecting people in this country. What do you think are the major issues?
So when I was canvassing over the last few years, the topics that come up pretty much across the board are going to be education. I think everybody is focused on knowing that we have to do a better job with educating our young people. Um, to me, the other priorities are going to be national security. Obviously, we've seen that we have an increase in gang violence. We see that there are issues within our society that we have to focus on to make those particular changes. But we also have an aging population. I can speak from personal um, kind of what happens with me personally in my house. My sisters and I are
Mm.
taking care of my mother who's aging. I think that is a story that you're hearing more and more across the country, where the cost of healthcare, how you're having to deal with healthcare, the long waits when you have to go into the hospital. These are all things that I think are on the minds of the people in Bermuda. And I think that it's going to be important for us to find solutions for the issues that we are seeing on an ongoing basis.
You mentioned education. Government's moving to a signature school and parish school format. What's the OBA and your position on this?
So the issue is that there has been this long process for education reform, and we've heard the minister talk recently about this being a really long process that could take 10 years to happen. The problems in education have been going on for an extended period of time. And the changes that need to happen, a lot of it is going to be based on how we support our teachers, how we make sure that the curriculum that is in the classrooms is what is the best benefit for our students. And we need to make sure that we're taking care of the students that are participating in our education system today. As you look at this long process where there's going to be continued disruption within classrooms, you're seeing it as we speak with the delay of opening up some of the classrooms in the new um, parish primary school. These continued disruptions on top of what we just went through with COVID are going to mean that a system that already had issues is now at a critical state. Um, our young people are too important for us to make any errors in how we are going to be developing them going forward. I believe that the government has spent a lot of time trying to figure out what the system is that they're going to move to. Um, there are people that are for moving from middle schools. There are people that are kind of wanting to keep middle schools. But the truth is, at the crux of all of this is going to be the focus on the learning, which means that it doesn't quite matter how big and beautiful a school is. It has to be important that the students are supported, the teachers are supported, and the parents are going to be part of whatever that system is going forward. Because if you don't have all of those pieces working together, it doesn't matter what plan we put in place.
Right. Now, what are people's reactions been to you when you've been canvassing Constituency 8? And are they presenting to you any issues that are more based on the constituency rather than national issues?
So, Don, to be honest with you, I have not returned back to Bermuda yet. I am heading back to Bermuda in the next couple of days. This process has been um, a lot going on. Obviously, I've traveled quite a bit this summer to represent Bermuda. Um, the way it works for me, obviously, as a politician, there's only certain parts of the year that I can travel. As somebody that works with a school, there's only certain parts of the year I can travel. And then because of national coaching, it literally meant that the last couple of weeks of August were the only time that I could take off. And it just happened that that was also the time that Cole decided that
Mm.
this was his point to retire. So all of those things came together at the same point. I had to spend the time with my family in order to recharge my batteries and be able to come back and take care of the people of constituency 8 and to be able to focus on what's going to be an important year for Bermuda so that we can move forward. What I will tell you is that my team has been out really strong over the last 2 weeks in constituency 8. They have had really great feedback from the people in the area. They've given them kind of the focus on what they think the issues are in the country and what they think the issues are in the constituency. And we are working diligently to put together a plan on how we can help them in the immediate, and also our plan for how we're going to help these issues that are coming up, not just in constituency 8, but across the island.
Right. Now, when can the constituents expect to see you on their doorsteps?
I'm looking to touch down on Friday, hoping that the storm doesn't cause any issues and delays, and then I will be out in constituency on Saturday morning.
Now, this is one question that's come up. Why are you making the switch from 31? Obviously, the party asked you to, but the people are saying is that you can't win 31 if you ran in 31 again.
So I disagree strongly with them. Um, I've been working hard in 31. I won 31 the first time. In 2020, Bermuda, if you look at the statistics of what happened in that election, we had a very low turnout. And we were in the middle of COVID. So in that period of time, you would see that there were some shifts in what happened. And there's a rebuilding of the One Bermuda Alliance to put together an exciting new group of people. Um, I was happy to continue to run in constituency 31. That's what made this decision difficult for me, because I'm connected to the people in Southampton. But what I felt was more important was for me to take this opportunity to get to the House, to continue to push our agenda so that we can help the country to get back on its feet and begin to thrive again, with a party that is down to 6 seats in the House. And with our leader stepping down, it meant that we had to replace that one person. It was important that you had somebody that had experience, which I built by being in the House and in the Senate. And it gives me this opportunity to get back and start to push the voice of the One Bermuda Alliance so that we can start to get the country back on track.
Yeah. In hindsight, if you could do it all over again, would you have the same conversation with Leah Scott talking about Premier Bert's Jamaican heritage? And I know you're not the one that brought it up, Miss Scott did, but do you wish that didn't happen?
So what I would say to you is that I think it's a lesson learned. It's a political communication lesson learned. What is important is that you try to get your message across as quick as possible and concise as possible. The context of that conversation, if you listen to the overall, was that we were talking about immigration and immigration policy. So what happened was both Leah Scott and I were actually on the Immigration Reform Committee, the bipartisan committee that had been started by the late Walton Brown and then carried on by Minister Keynes. And we had spent 3 years working hard on that committee, spending hours upon hours with a group of people that we differed in opinions, but we were still working towards trying to get an important thing done. And we were running into what I felt was obstacles over and over again, and obstacles that were coming from the leadership of the Progressive Labor Party. They were pushing back on some of the things that had to happen and had to change. And what we were discussing wasn't about, looking at somebody and picking out where they came from. What we were saying is Bermuda's been built by people coming from other countries and actually being part of our country to move us forward. If you go back through history, a lot of leadership, a lot of people that have moved Bermuda forward and progressed us forward have actually come from other jurisdictions. And when we start to look at the way the world is working, everybody is looking for human capital. They're looking for people to come into their country to help them. Bermuda's in an extreme situation with high level debt and a population that is decreasing at a level that is not sustainable for us. So, when we say that we need to bring people to the country, we have to understand that that is going to be immigration reform, and you're going to have to offer people to be here. When you talk about somebody spending over 20 years of their life in one country and having their children here and setting up, to have a system that means that they will be second class citizens, their children will be second class citizens, and their grandchildren will be second class citizens, there's no way that that makes sense. So when you're having a conversation and you're looking at, this is the makeup of our country, why is it that you're being so restrictive? And you're looking at, this is the makeup of our country, why is it that you're being so restrictive? And you're looking at, this is the makeup of our country, why is it that you're being so restrictive? And you're looking at, this is the makeup of our country, why is it that you're being so restrictive? And you're looking at, this is the makeup of our country, why is it that you're being so restrictive? considering that Bermuda already has a system in place that vets every person that comes into the country. So why are we afraid of allowing somebody who has embraced Bermuda as their jurisdiction, been here for 20 something years, for them to be able to call Bermuda theirs as well? And that's a much different message than the one that came out in that video. But that was the message. That was the frustration that we had. What I would say is, I would say it differently. And if it had come out of my mouth, that's the way it would have come out.
Okay. Now, I know like adding to the immigration problems, population problems is our aging population. So we have less people in the workforce or older people in the workforce who would prefer to enjoy their retirement years doing other things and trying to make an ends meet. What do you think the OBA could do to help solve those problems? Well, and
Well,
we
the
also
first,
have, sorry, and we also have people who are leaving the country, the unmarked number, whatever that is, of people trying to find other places to live.
and that what you just said is the final piece to that pie. So we have an emigration problem that we actually have no idea what that number is. Um, it's a narrative. We know it's happening. Everybody knows somebody who has left, or they have family members that have left. We also have an aging population. We also have a situation where our birth rate is low. So when you add all of those pieces together, that is not a combination that is going to result in a good situation for our country. Every time you shrink that pie, there is going to be a smaller group that is going to be left paying the bill. So right now we're looking at a situation where we're pushing the retirement age. We're making it so that people have to work longer. But as you said, when is the point where they're going to be able to enjoy retirement and enjoy the fruits of their labor? Instead, they're having to spend more time working in order to make ends meet. These are not easy. There's no easy solution to this. And one of the things that I get a benefit of traveling quite a bit as a national coach, you get to talk to people from different countries and see what the situations are in different jurisdictions. This is not a problem that is only in Bermuda. So what we have to understand is we are competing on a global scale to fix the same problem. It's just highlighted for Bermuda because of our size. So at 65,000, we were doing okay. At this point, are we at 60,000? Are we less than 60,000? Bringing people into Bermuda is not the only answer. We have to make sure that we're bringing people that are going to bring opportunity, create jobs. What we cannot do is continue to grow government by thinking that we're going to solve the problem by hiring the people. Well, everybody will understand that will then mean that we're going to pay higher taxes. Well, because of the aging population, the group that's going to pay the taxes are the young people.
Mhm.
And young people are saying, well, we're not going to do that. We're going to leave. We must grow the pie in order for us to make sure that opportunities are available to have business, for business to flourish. And when business flourishes, it creates opportunity, it creates employment, and it will start to move our country back to being vibrant the way it used to be.
Right. Now, with you moving to 8, it seems like, I mean, from an outside perspective, that whoever runs in 31 won't know the people as well as you and possibly not be as good a candidate because they're not as familiar with the people there and been on the doorsteps. What would you say to that?
Well, you'll see when we announce that person whether that's going to be an issue or not. But because I've been knocking on the doors in 31 up until this point, I know that the people in 31 have the same issues of all the people across this country. It's not going to be as important for where that person has lived in the island. It's going to be more important whether the person that's coming to you is going to be able to listen to you and help you, because just coming up with a plan and then putting that plan on the shelf is not going to be good enough. We are going to have to turn the country around quickly, which means that every person that we bring in needs to not just be able to talk the talk, we have to be able to walk the walk. So trust me, we will put somebody in 31 that will be very supportive of those constituents. And I will continue to make sure that is happening, because I grew up in Southampton and I'm not going to let anything happen there either. The move to constituency 8 is because it is too critical and too important for us to allow any further time of us being in the situation we are. We have to get to work to fix the way things are. Anybody that drives around Bermuda and sees our roads, anybody that sees the death toll on our roads, anybody that continuously hears the problems that we're having with education, the long waits at our hospital, is going to say something has to change, something has to give. And that is only going to happen with we are putting real pressure on the government. And that is why I'm here, because it is important that myself and the rest of my team, you've seen what my leader has been able to do in a short amount of time. He's come out with a bunch of energy. He's not just talking about hope, but he's talking about the things that need to change. We have to make sure there's accountability. We have to make sure there's integrity. We have to make sure there's honesty. And those things are going to help us in order to move forward. Because one of the issues that we've had for a long time is we have to be honest with the population. The changes that are going to have to happen are not going to be easy. Everyone's going to have to roll their sleeves up and get to work. The whole world is falling into these same issues. This is not going to be a quick fix. We are going to have to work together to make Bermuda what it should be, what it used to be, and what it will be.
Okay, those are very strong words. Now, we're at the end of our interview. Is there anything that you would want to say that I haven't asked you that you think is important?
What I would say is I'm looking forward to being home and introducing myself to the people of constituency 8. But more importantly, I'd like to make sure that everybody in Bermuda is safe in this upcoming week while we're going through these back-to-back storms. Let's hope that these storms pass us by easily and that we can all get back to work and get back to making Bermuda what it should be.
All right. Thank you, Ben. That's Ben Smith. He's the OBA candidate, Senator Ben Smith, OBA candidate for Constituency 8 to replace Cole Simons. Thank you for being on.
Thank you, Don.
I've been your host, Don Burgess, and on behalf of Burn News, wishing you a very Bermuda-ful day.